to the NBA here. We're going to talk about kind of the biggest trade that's happened in the last little bit, not with Luka Doncic involved. That being Jimmy Butler heading over to join the Warriors in just about the longest trade I've ever seen in my life. I'm going to try and read it out here and not take 30,000 years. We'll see how that goes. But with this, the Warriors will receive, obviously, Jimmy Butler, 2 second-round picks from the Heat, and cash considerations. The Heat receive Andrew Wiggins, Kyle Anderson, and Davion Mitchell, with Kyle Anderson and Wiggins coming from the Heat, Mitchell coming from the Raptors, and a 2025 first-round pick protected from the Warriors. The Jazz receive KJ Martin from the Pistons via the Sixers, Josh Richardson via the Heat, a 2028 second-round pick from Pistons via the Sixers, 2031 second-round pick via the Heat, cash considerations via the Heat. The Pistons receive Dennis Schroeder from Jazz via the Warriors, Lindy Waters via the Warriors, a 2031 second-round pick via the Warriors. And then the Toronto Raptors receive PJ Tucker, a 2026 second-round pick via the Heat, and cash considerations via the Heat. Caleb, say something so I can take a break for my voice.
I mean, I don't think I realized how many other teams were in on this. Because also, like, what the fuck did the Raptors do? They just kind of showed up, like...
They got PJ Tucker and a second, and then a pat on the shoulder.
We're here too. If we take this off your hands, seems like you got a lot going on. Let's make this easier for you. I think we can to kind of spare both of us. We can mostly just talk about the Heat and Warriors in this. I think the Jazz, Pistons, and Raptors were kind of just here for the party. Not gonna lie, that's obviously not the reason we'd want to be talking about this.
Let's talk about what PJ Tucker adds to the Raptors' playoff run this year.
Yeah, let's go into a big
the 9th spot in the East or wherever the fuck they are.
Yeah, what are their chances? How much more likely is it that they're going to get eliminated in the first playoff game because of PJ Tucker?
Yeah,
riveting commentary. But no, it's Jimmy Butler. It's that man. That's the reason. And I mean, it's been such a long saga. It's been inevitable that he's going to be traded for about 2 months because there's been rumblings and rumors about his discontent that turned into suspensions and public feuds and him fucking dyeing his hair the colors of the team that he wants to be traded to. When it gets to that point, you know that something's going to happen there, and it did. And he's in Golden State now. In the Bay Area, but I think it's most important to talk about the Heat side of this first and how Jimmy Butler left, because I think that's the interesting part in terms of how he kind of forced his way out. I don't know how much you've heard on it, Simon, but based on kind of what you know about it, where do you kind of stand in terms of how this all went down?
I usually hate when players do stuff like this because I think it's petty. Like, you're making millions of bucks. You're not even on that bad of a team. Like, the Heat's okay. Like, I mean, I usually, more often than not, am on the side of the team in this situation. But, God, Jimmy Butler's entire, like, character arc at this point as a player in the NBA has been so funny to watch that I don't know how you can't cheer for him at this point every time he forces his way out of every team on the planet. Like, it's just so funny to me at this point that, like, why would you how is he not just getting signed to a 1-year contract every time at this point? Like, how do you not I don't even know anymore. Like, if you are signing him to a multi-year contract, you got to know how it's going to end at this point, right? It's going to end with Jimmy Butler skipping practices to hang out on a yacht, you finding him millions of dollars just for him not to give a fuck, and then you trade him for a first, and that's it. Like, that's how it's going to end. I mean, it was the same in Minnesota. Yeah. It was the same in Philly. It was the same, and we just saw it was the same with the Heat. Like, I love watching Jimmy Butler play. I love him as a basketball player, but at this point, it's funny. I don't even know if locker room cancer is the right way to put it, because it doesn't seem like his teammates hate him. Like, he just kind of seems like the type of guy who, when his team isn't winning, he doesn't want to be there. It's as simple as that. So, I mean, for the most part,
yeah,
I have been on the side of Jimmy Butler, but I think that's more just a thing of, I don't know what the Heat expected. Like, he was going to do it eventually.
Yeah, and I think that's the key where it's like when they're not winning, he's not going to be present. And I mean, it's kind of a shitty thing to do. Like it's,
Yes,
but
sure.
it's so interesting because it's clearly not that he doesn't have work ethic, because he does, and that's almost something he, especially in that like bubble finals, almost got famous for. Like I always think of the picture of him. He's playing. It's the finals against the Lakers, and he is carrying that Heat team, and it's just the image of him kind of over like the by the net, and he's just draped over like this. And it was in the game where he just kind of like put the team entirely on his back, and they still lost.
He was nuts in that finals. I watched every single game
He
of
was
that
so
finals, and yeah, he was insane. Like he had an
yeah.
incredible
He was
series.
the best. He was the best player on any on either team on the
Yeah,
court.
no, you could, yeah,
And that's
yeah. No, I agree with you.
yeah. And so it's like there's that side of it where you can tell like he very clearly has the capacity to give everything he has to this. So often he more or less goes with these like petty grievances that just kind of bring him down and kind of forces them to try to, maybe not forces him, but kind of puts him in a route where he's trying to find a way out. Some of the insider stuff on this, it's hard to know what's real and what's not. But because it's such a high drama thing, there's been so many kind of reports and rumors that have floated around. There was a long kind of feature piece on the Athletic that was really good about kind of unraveling some of this. It's called "How Jimmy Butler Heat Relationship Devolved to Where a Trade Was the Only Solution." And there's a lot to this. There was Jimmy Butler meeting with Pat Riley, and there's like rumors about how Pat Riley handled that meeting, and Pat Riley was crying in that
Yeah.
meeting, and where apparently it was an attempt to get to connect with Butler, over the fact that both of their fathers had passed away. But Butler really didn't take that in the way that it was intended. He said he viewed Riley's behavior as, quote, unhinged, because there was also the side of it that apparently there was some rumors that Riley was trying to tell Butler how to parent his kids, and that was another part of it too,
That's
where who
okay.
knows if that was something that actually
Before
happened.
we move on to
And
the next part of the drama, all I wanted to say was that is so weird to me. Like I,
yeah,
yeah, that like I when he said when you I actually didn't know that. I didn't know that was why he was crying in this meeting. I did hear that Pat Riley had cried in the meeting, and I thought it was more as somebody who's followed Pat Riley's career, like over at this point I don't even know how long he's been in the NBA, but like the one thing most people would tell you about Pat Riley is he is somebody who hates to lose. The Miami Heat, as long as he has been there, win. They win. Like the Heat culture is something you will always hear about. So what I before you said all the other stuff there, I interpreted that as him trying to show Jimmy Butler how much he cares about the Heat winning. To kind of try and show him, stick around. I know things aren't good right now. We will right this ship together, type thing. That's kind of the way that I looked at it. Hearing that that's the route he took is weird and uncomfortable
it's
to me.
strange.
Yeah,
It's strange. Weird and uncomfortable is a very good way to put it. I'll read this paragraph from the article that I think puts it really well. So it says, from Butler's vantage point, Riley was, quote, unhinged and disturbing. More specifically, Butler told those close to him that the longtime team president referenced Butler's recently deceased father several times throughout the meeting, offered unsolicited and unwanted parenting advice, and even shed tears before ending the meeting by telling Butler he loved him. It's it's a really odd way to go about it, um,
yeah,
especially given everything else that would then follow with all the suspensions and all the other jobs. Like he's missing a flight where apparently they had an agreement where Jimmy Butler didn't have to travel with the rest of the team. They changed it on him last second, dinged him for missing the flight and suspended him.
yeah.
There's so much around this where it's like it was clear that this trade was happening. Like it's all this mess that leads into one inevitable solution, but just the drama of it all is kind of insane. It feels like something more out of reality TV than sports.
No, absolutely. I mean, everything in Jimmy Butler's career seems more out of reality
Yeah,
TV than
sure.
sports. Yeah. Welcome to following Jimmy Butler. But like, yeah, no, that's odd to me. I did not know that actually before this, so yeah, I don't even really have words necessarily for that. That's just weird. That's a weird approach by, like, I don't get why Pat Riley went that direction on it. That makes no sense to me.
No. But I will say to the other side of it with the Jimmy Butler stuff, I think it's weird. It sounds like the sense that I got from reading a lot of this about the situation was that Jimmy Butler was getting a lot of preferential treatment. It's like you don't have to travel with the team and you can fly in your own private jet or whatever. And then it sounds like when that was taken away for whatever reason, then that's when the suspensions came. But my question is, why is he getting that treatment in the first place? I know he's your star player, but I feel like that's just a bad move in general.
Yeah, you have other stars on that Heat
to
team.
Say, to put him above the team, I don't think that's a good decision in the first place.
No, I agree with you too. It never really goes well in sports when your star is acting like that, and most of the winning teams, if you go back through all of that, even if it's like a player who was definitely put themselves above the team and above a lot of their teammates, they still traveled with the team, they still trained with the team, they treated each other like family, right? Like that's still something you hear a lot of. And yeah, I think anytime when the star is legitimately isolating himself because he's hot shit, generally doesn't work. So I don't know. It just kind of seems like maybe it was their way of trying to like give him a slap on the ass, like, hey, you're supposed to be our leader, you're being a dick, so we're gonna take away all of your fun toys and see how you like it. And he didn't like it, so yeah, now he's a Warrior. I don't think he's gonna get the same treatment over there, to put that lightly. I do think that he instantly goes to a team where he's no longer going to be that guy. So I don't know how the Warriors are going to handle that. That'll be interesting.
It will be interesting. And we can kind of talk more about the Warriors now, because I think from a Warriors perspective, at least on the surface, just the mathematics of it makes sense, because even just looking at how they handled the extension that they immediately gave him, 2 more years, lining up with Steph Curry, I believe also lining up with Steve Kerr, their intentions are kind of obvious. You're making one last run to try to end the dynasty with an encore championship, and then you're probably tearing it to the studs and rebuilding.
And it's funny, their last championship, I definitely looked at that as an encore championship, where it's kind of this is it. So, I mean, it's interesting that this is, obviously, it's hard to want to suck when you still have a guy like Steph Curry, and you still have Steve Kerr, obviously, in his legendary coaching career. Like, you still have all of these reasons to want to keep running it back. So I get that. And now Jimmy Butler, you're adding on to that. And to be honest with you, I'd have to look at Andrew Wiggins' stats this year, because frankly I haven't followed his season too closely, but it feels like they got him pretty light. Like, they had to give up a first, but they got 2 second round picks back, excuse me. Like, it's, I don't know, it doesn't necessarily feel like they lost all that much, all things considered. Like, I don't know. Like, at the end of the day, they're doing everything they can to make that one last run happen.
Yeah. And I almost I don't really hate that, honestly, because what I think is a bad idea is to be the Pittsburgh Penguins of the NHL and to say, we have Sidney Crosby, we have this generational player who's carried our team for however many years, and we're gonna ride it out, but we're gonna do so by signing all these aging players to long-term contracts and just like being in delusion that we're still a contending team. What the Warriors have done that's different from that,
I feel like outside of the Carlson deal with the Penguins, I feel like they haven't necessarily made any big moves to actually try and contend. They've kind of just floundered.
Yeah.
Like, that's what the Warriors aren't trying to do. Sorry for interrupting you.
I just make that point. Oh no, all good. I was just gonna say they've gone bigger and bolder than the Penguins did, to your point, but they've also placed a strict time limit on it to say the contracts all end here, and we can tie it up in a neat little bow, explode the shit out of it, and restart from the studs. That's, I think, the good approach to take Whereas the Penguins, it's like you sign Erik Karlsson to however many years, and you just like keep pushing the ball down the road, but your team's just mediocre and mediocre and mediocre, and you're not actually going to be able to rebuild it. Whereas I think the Warriors would have a better chance to rebuild because their team after Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler go is probably going to be pretty awful. So I think that's almost a better way to go about it, where you can kind of play both sides, try to put all your cards on the table for a miracle, but then actually do the work to rebuild the team.
Yeah, I mean, by the end of his contract, Steph Curry would be 37 or 38 or somewhere along those lines. He would definitely be getting. He's already getting up there, but he would be getting up there. I mean, I definitely get it. I cannot imagine a world where Steph Curry's playing somewhere else, but I don't think he's necessarily. I don't know. I don't think. I can't imagine a world where in 2 years. I guess I don't know. I guess I'll throw it back over to you because I'm frankly not too sure how I feel about it. Do you think Steph Curry's going to retire after 2 years, or do you think he ring chases?
I think either way, you don't think you sign him again to the Warriors because I think at that point they're not going to line up with what the goals are. I think if I'm Steph Curry, I retire. Like I retire a Warrior because I don't necessarily know what else I could find out there.
What is a ring?
It'll be hard to know.
His resume at this point.
Yeah, right. Like I don't think you necessarily need. I think your resume is more solid if it shows Golden State Warriors from 2000 and whatever it was to 2026. And that's the only team on your resume. I almost feel like that's more solid. No, but you also can't blame the guy if he goes up, and chases a ring somewhere. It'll be interesting to see when the time comes.
Yes, I would call it a poor decision on his part. I think that at this point that type of loyalty is so rare that I really just think that he'd be frankly ruining his legacy more than he'd be helping it if he were to chase a ring, even if he gets that ring. Like I just think that being able to say that the only team that he played for was the Warriors is just an incredible feat. So, at least to me, I think that should be his.
Yeah, it's hard to know because I think maybe he gets to that age 30 whatever season and he's like, I've still got juice in the tank and I can still perform to more or less the same level. Then maybe he tries it. Impossible to know. One last thing I want to shout out before we kind of move on to whatever we've got going up next is I shouted out another athletic article from this. There's another one to point out just because I think the writing in it was very good. And the headline kind of shows that it takes a much more pessimistic outlook on the trade than I think we have. But it's saying the Warriors' trade for Jimmy Butler is a match made in mutual desperation. I just love that headline because I mean that's kind of the other part of it, right? It's because it's the only thing that either of them could really do in that situation, right? Like if the Warriors couldn't get Butler, then where are they going to go? They're going to be stuck in that play-in round until Curry retires, right?
There were rumors about them going after Kevin Durant at one point, but that you can put that where you want to put that, I guess.
But I think Kevin Durant was the one who said no.
Yeah,
probably. In that case.
I think he's probably in a better spot in Phoenix at this point.
I think so. And in Jimmy Butler's case, it sounded like nobody else wanted him other than the Warriors because of everything that we've already talked about.
Yeah.
So again, that's why I wanted to kind of end with that because I think it's a pretty good way of summing up the whole thing. And there's this one piece from this article that I think is good. Is saying NBA teams weren't lining up to throw money at Butler, not with his age, injury history, and propensity to end tenures with turmoil. Nor were teams eager to trade one of their superstars to Golden State. The Warriors struck out on Paul George, Lauri Markkanen, and then were spurned by Kevin Durant this week. So as the trade deadline drew near, both Butler and the Warriors looked around at their options and saw they were the only ones in the club. A shoulder shrug, a shot, a hookup. I was like, yeah. That pretty much sums it up.
Yeah. No, that's yeah. I don't think I have anything to add to that. That's probably just true.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. I think the Warriors kind of. Well, I think both of them kind of end up in the same spot. That's no, yeah, yeah. I don't
It was the
disagree with
only
word of that.
possible move. Yeah, it was the only possible move they could have made because you're at the certain point in your tenure as a player where you're kind of left with no other options, and as a team where it's really the only thing you can do. Um, so it's an interesting trade from that perspective. And I mean, we're early returns, but Jimmy Butler's looking pretty good in Golden State so far in his first couple games. I think they've won both of them, and I think he's played pretty well. So who knows? Maybe this experiment will go better than I think some people think it will.
Yeah, yeah. You never know. I still think that the Warriors are probably not going to win another championship. That
No.
controversial take, but I don't. You pointed out the fact that like I don't remember when you said this, but you pointed out that maybe Steph Curry, when the time comes, thinks that he still has gas in the tank. I think we're already starting to see that maybe he doesn't. In 44 games this year, he's had 23 points per game, 4.5 rebounds, 6.1 assists. That 23 points is the lowest point total he's had in a full season since 2014, 2015, which was a very good year for the Warriors, but I mean, compared to what he's been doing in the last little while, I mean, just look at like in 2024, 26, 2023, 29, 2022, 25, 2021, 32. Like most of the time his numbers have always been in those higher 20s and occasionally gracing the 30s. Seeing him go below that like 25 marker is jarring, and especially for Curry.
Yeah.
Like he's always been that guy who can score. Sure, well, no, he is known as a scorer. That's just true. He is. That has always been the thing that he brings the most. Like, and seeing that slowly kind of go, I think is more of a sign than anything else that the clock is ticking, and maybe setting an expiration date for when he's for 2 years down the road when he's 38 isn't necessarily a bad spot to set it. I think the craziest part is, depending on how long LeBron decides to stick out with Doncic, LeBron might outsurvive Steph Curry. Isn't that a crazy thought? I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know if anybody's
Yeah.
really talking about that, but I don't know.
Well, it's that tweet, right? It's the LeBron is 30. Thank God this fuckery won't go
Yeah.
on much longer. It was like
LeBron's
10 years ago.
LeBron's.
LeBron is 40. This
Did you
fuckery must not go any longer.
did you see that the same guy posted that exact same thing on the same
Yes.
day? Yeah, no, saying
Yes,
that
I did see that.
LeBron is 40. This fuckery won't go on any longer. God, that's awesome.
Uh,
I'm sorry, but this fuckery with Luka Doncic will be going on for quite a bit longer, I think. Because LeBron's still looking pretty good. It's looking like Curry
Yeah.
might be aging quicker than LeBron is, but who knows? All of
It's
LeBron's
impressive.
interviews, yes, absolutely. All of LeBron's interviews have kind of made it seem like I'm old. I'd start counting your minutes, but you never know. I feel like, especially if in the next few years, if they're contending more than the
He's-
Warriors, it'd be a conversation.
he's been strong in the end of his career, and it's almost similar to Tom Brady in that way, where it's like less championships, obviously, but more so it's like he's gonna retire, he's gonna retire, he's gonna retire, and you say that for about 5 years, and he's still in the league. So
Yeah. So I'm trying to scan this as fast as possible just to try and understand this. Okay, so what Curry said, because this randomly popped up on my feed, perfectly timed, was talking about how he wants to end his career. He revealed that he does not want to end his career the same way that Kobe Bryant did on the Lakers. And while you hear that, you might immediately think, hey, that immediately shoots down what we were saying. It actually might go the other direction, because it sounds like in this interview, when he was asked how he wants to end his career, he said that he wants to be competitive. And he wants to end his career fighting for a championship to the very end and stay in that fight. And he wants to do that on the Warriors, is basically what he said. But he doesn't want to just kind of kick the can down the road on a team full of rookies. and young guys where he's clearly the best guy. Is kind of that's more his. He doesn't want to be part of a rebuild at this point, but he still wants to be a Warrior for life. So I mean, it just kind of it explains kind of everything else.
That sounds like him retiring in 2 years. That's what that sounds like to me. That sounds like him retiring when his contract's up.
And to throw a scenario out there to end this, maybe we see a similar thing to what we saw with it was Dirk and Dwayne Wade where they had the retirement kind of tour. Maybe we see a similar thing. Steph Curry and LeBron riding out into the sunset in 2 years. Maybe that makes sense. You never know. I feel like that might be the best way that they could possibly retire both of those players. Although then again, LeBron seems to be wanting to go sip wine for the rest of his life more and more with every passing day. So we'll see if he makes it to 2 years.